It's almost impossible to have any kind of meaningful discussion about long-distance hiking without the name Miss Janet coming up. Miss Janet is amazing. She spends at least 7 months out of the year living in her van, driving up and down the East Coast, assisting through hikers. That's it. She provides love and care and rides to town and advice and, trip to the train station for people whose hikes are over. And did I say guidance and discipline and direction? She's been described as a trail angel many times, but, I really think that the term trail mom is more appropriate. People listen to her. They do what she says, which is a good thing because Miss Janet cares deeply about the trail and the people who make up the community that surrounds it and supports it. The AT wouldn't be what it is without Miss Janet. And I was incredibly lucky to get to spend some time with her earlier this spring at the AT kickoff. So for our Mother's Day special this year, I'm going to take you back in time so that you can spend some time with Miss Janet as well. Happy Mother's Day. This is Stories from the Trail. Oh, and call your mom. Seriously, call your mom.
It seems like it's much more prevalent now, even just over a few years.
I think so.
Darn,
you're right.
Social media.
Yeah, I didn't even know that there were AT-related Facebook groups until the year after we did our hike. Or actually, I think I found out towards the end, and that's how people were keeping track of each other.
Yeah, I think one existed, but I didn't know about it because Miss Janet told me about it, and I had no idea. I had no idea it even existed.
I got to see Miss Janet this weekend.
Oh, she was down there?
Yep, Miss Janet's there every year.
I love her.
I don't have a copy.
I love Miss Janet.
I do too. I got to talk to Miss Janet in a room with a microphone and the door closed for about 45 minutes.
Did you?
It was magical. Yes.
Oh,
that's most
great.
amount of.
I wish I were there.
That's the most amount of time. No, she and I have run into each other like a million times, and I don't like. Okay, if you've never had a Miss Janet encounter, it's really something special because it's kind of like being in the middle of a tornado.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Every 5 seconds, somebody is coming up to her either with a question or just wanting to thank her for being who she is, or, hey, can I take a selfie with you real quick? Or, hey, I need a ride to the hospital, or who knows,
Yeah. Or they're just jumping in and giving her a hug and saying something and then leaving. Like with just stopping in for a hug.
She helped you quite a bit when you had your incident in, was it Hanover? What happened
Hanover,
there?
New Hampshire, yeah. Yeah, my pack was stolen. So Miss Janet saved me.
How'd she do that?
Miss Janet and Baltimore Jack actually saved me. So it was very nice. And White Mountains Lodge and Hostel, who took me in. Took my sorry ass in. Nothing.
She kind of coordinated the hiker grapevine for spare gear and
she did. And that was when I learned about the Facebook group. She's like, oh, I posted on Facebook. And I was like, oh, Facebook, how is that going to help? Not really realizing how large of a following Miss Janet has. Like, I think it was within, I want to say 36 hours. It wasn't even a full 2 days. I had everything that I needed, or I had offers for everything that I needed to continue going. So she's very involved. Everyone knows her. She's so famous.
So if let's assume that some people listening don't know who she is.
Right.
Yeah, Miss Janet is, okay. The most common term that's applied to Miss Janet is trail angel.
And I asked her about
because if you just say trail angel, people are going to go, what the heck is a trail angel?
Yeah,
are you guys doing drugs out there and seeing angels?
You have to learn a whole new language to, start hiking.
You really do.
Yeah. So we know trail magic. Well, Miss Janet talks about trail magic and what a trail angel is.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I've got that in the recording here, but, we can go ahead and say what we think it is.
Yeah. My opinion of what a trail angel is anybody, whether they consider themselves to be a trail angel or not, anybody who helps out a thru hiker simply out of the kindness of their heart when that person is in need. So I think it doesn't just cover people who live around the trail and who regularly give hikers food or lodging. I think it also extends to people who are in town and know that the trail goes through there and are willing to help a hiker out when they're in need, even if they don't consider themselves a trail angel or they don't do it on a regular basis, because those types of people have also been very helpful. And I think they deserve that title too. Personally, just my opinion.
Yep. And there's tons of them out there too. And, varying degrees of, like one example of a trail angel is someone who lives near the trail and has a sign posted on the road that says, hey, you can come use my hose for clean drinking water. It's just something that simple makes, that's a trail angel. Or someone like Miss Janet, who spends, probably 7-8 months out of the year living in her van, following hikers both north and south the entire length of the AT, helping them with, not just rides to town, but, I joked earlier about someone needing a ride to the hospital, or like that's the kind of stuff she does. Like she's kind of she's like the mom of the trail.
She is very much the mom of the trail.
And she comes with a little bit of authority and clout too.
Yes.
You don't want to get on Miss Janet's bad side.
You do not want to get on Miss Janet's bad side. And she will, she'll scold you too. Like she has rules and you have to follow them. So one of the, did she talk about some of her rules, her van rules when you interviewed her?
No, we talked about other stuff though.
So one of the rules that she has is if you can't leave any of your stuff in her van, like when you go, and if you leave something and she catches up with you later on down the trail and you want it back, you have to like dance or like sing and dance in order to get it back. And she has the right to film you while you do it, and then post it on Facebook. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. The funnier the dance, the better.
Exactly. So when my pack was stolen and she gave me a ride, she gave me the rules just like she does for everyone else. And it was hilarious because Baltimore Jack and I were staying at White Mountains Lodge and Hostel, and she was, I think, running out to go do something else. And she like kicked us out of the van and she's like, "Oh, Voldemort, don't forget anything." Just kidding. You don't have anything. Oh. It was hilarious. It was like really sad, but also hilarious at the same time. So
do you want to hear, do you want to hear Miss Janet?
Yes. I love that. It's the best kind of help.
How this audio is going to go. This is first.
Well, maybe it wasn't purple. It was something else, another color, dark, but it wasn't blue.
Brown.
What might have been brown.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so happy with his rain skirt. He's excited. He wants it to rain.
I still had you in my phone. Let me say, here's my notes. Trail shutter for donation only. Very outgoing. All seem to like her. She's very motherly type. That's my notes from.
I'm very what? Mentally tight. You mean like I'm together?
Very outgoing.
Oh, okay.
It's a motherly type.
Now, this is exactly what I wrote.
Lady, you're awesome.
5 years ago.
You're awesome. I love you.
And I had you under Miss Janet, so I was looking for you under something else.
Awesome.
So I had you. But I thought you did it.
Yeah, thank you.
My
I
notes
do.
from 5 years ago.
That's awesome.
And I still have it in here.
I'm going to pull that door shut.
Yeah.
Visitors. So you got to tell me about your setup right here.
So this is a portable studio. It's a 3-channel mixer. In addition to having microphones built into it, it's got underneath this clown nose thing. It's got a couple of powered condenser mics, and then there's a couple of plugs in here where I can plug into handhelds, and then it records to an SD card in here, and then I'll just pop that into my computer. And
That's awesome.
And then I get to see the waveform of our conversations, so I can use those to like cut out, like if we make mistakes or
see those. Oh wow, I'm the worst editor in the world, and mostly it's because I don't know any one product well enough. I know I like what this product does, like this gallery thing and this photo thing and then this thing, but then none of the three of them work together, and so when it comes to sound recording, and I did some videos years ago that I just used the old plug into the computer handheld microphone, repeated 5 million times and recorded and tried to. Oh my gosh, they're painful to watch. You should. They're on YouTube. You should watch them sometime.
I think I may have seen them.
But I realized then that I am not a technical communications person. I just can't do it.
I had to do stuff like this for my computer job that I had before I hiked the trail.
Awesome.
They put me in charge of like training.
Okay, so you had to build training modules or some kind of...
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly right, modules. And so, like, the kind of stuff you've seen me do here, I've been doing that, just...
Well, you do it so flawlessly.
For computers
You do it so well because, your Florida Trail thing is still on my desktop.
Foothills.
Yeah, the Foothills is still on my desktop. So I'd watched it again the other day. Oh. And, I'd gone through all of it. And I'm like, because I really, really, really... would like to go do. I'm a waterfall fanatic, and
so nice.
And I've only done I've walked in and walked to one waterfall in one direction, one in the other. From there's a place that has an observation deck on a side trail beside one of the falls.
Whitewater Falls. Yeah,
so I walked into Whitewater Falls, and then we turned around and walked back down to the one on the other side. But I don't remember what it was.
I lost track of.
But it's never left me. I've just been like, when I did it, it was really, really hot, and I said, but I want to do it when there's ice when there's ice hanging in the. But I just
not too many humans.
I haven't done it. The people never bother me because I can't hike with anyone. I can't hike 100 yards with you because I can't walk and talk and breathe. I can walk and breathe, or I can stand and talk to you and breathe, but we cannot hike together. So forget it. So I hear sticks coming. I talk to them and let them go, and then I go do my own thing.
We actually might do all right on the trail together because I don't talk when I walk either.
I can't. And Rich is like, he never stops, and I can't answer him, and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, why don't you just go on? Just go on.
Yeah. I like the silence.
I can't stand anything squeaking on my pipe. Like if I have a I even get irritated at my trekking poles sometimes, and I don't listen to music. And my own breathing will irritate me.
Really?
Because I like silence. When I like hearing everything.
Do you sleep with
there
earplugs
is to hear? No, I can't sleep with earplugs.
That's a different kind of silence.
Well, all I hear is my heart beating, then, and my blood rushing through my veins. Is different kind of silence. But I listen to white sound. I do often listen to white sound to sleep. Rainstorms and things like that. They really, really work amazing.
A stream. A stream or a creek or something.
Yeah, you look on my phone and it's like rushing water. And I pull that up and it'll be a white water thing, and it'll be 10 hours or something, and I just turn it on and.
Do you have a stream
near?
Matters. Do you have something white water or white noise source near your house?
No, never anywhere where but I camp a lot of times right at water. I'll have my favorite campsites are places that I'm like, oh, I can just back up and back right up to this and open the doors and the waterfall's right here. And
how often are you home?
Often. This year I got home the day before Halloween, and I'm gone now. So November, December,
and
January, I'm
from
somewhere. Yeah,
and
I'm somewhere. And this year I was working on the house in Irwin, but it's not really my house. It's just where all my stuff lives.
Right.
It's not illegal.
You're famous for being on the go.
I'm just a vagabond. Rich is like
hard to pin down even when you're in one place.
I know.
We've been in the same building. We've been 50 feet away from each other for like 3 hours now. Like I can't get missed.
And I apologize because I forgot that we had talked about getting together this morning, because Rich got up and decided to go hike. It was so pretty. He decided to go hike, so we were getting him ready to leave, and then I had forgot that Bob wanted me to do that thing. So I'm very scattery.
A long time ago, years ago, that would have annoyed me. But
the trail rubbed it right out. The trail rubbed it out.
That's exactly right. Maybe you want to pick different words than rub one out.
But it's between me and you, we can do that. Between me, especially because you're not recording yet, right?
Oh, we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't do formal interviews. Like I don't want, our show isn't like host interviewing guest. What I like people when they listen to the show, I want them to feel like they got seated next to us at the pub. Okay. And they're eavesdropping on us just hanging out. So
excellent.
That's the kind of stuff
I love that.
That's how you really get to know people, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I'm yours for as long as you need me.
Okay.
I don't know
that's
what
kind
direction
of your
you want to go.
life, though, isn't it? Like, I'm yours as long as you need me.
It actually kind of is because this is what happens a lot of times because of what I'm doing. A lot of people think that they need to pay me for a service like a shuttle or whatever, and it's just like the gentleman that I was just talking to out here. It's so much. There's so much more involved than just putting you in a car and driving you to this point, because I would be remiss in my mission of being of service to you as a long distance hiker, and for your trip to be enjoyable and safe and respectful of the other people and of the trail. I feel like I have a lot of things I need to say, so you're going to hear it.
Yeah. Now that guy out in the hallway, I was listening to you guys talk, and this was his first Miss Janet experience. And
yes,
I don't think he fully understood that like, you genuinely care about how that pack's going to affect his experience. You're not just Miss
Janet is an irritating character because Miss Janet will take on the persona that she feels like she needs at that moment to get through to that person for whatever that person is needing. When I heard 90 pounds of Army gear, I went, the Army gave me half my gear, and it's been a number of years since this gentleman has gone for a walk of more than an hour. And it doesn't mean he's not capable of hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
He has the desire. He wants to, but he has to start understanding that he cannot force himself and his body and his gear to do what he's planned on paper until he's actually got some experience walking with his gear and camping and learning just those simple how to take care of yourself and your own needs in the woods. Being in the military sometimes is one of the worst training for being a long-distance hiker.
It is. Yeah.
Long-term military people don't always make the best hikers because they think they have to punch a clock, they have to do a certain number of miles, they have to carry a certain amount of weight, and they don't take into account that the military did not care if they did it again tomorrow. The military did not care if they were comfortable or if they were happy or if they were having a good time or if the other people around them were in danger because of what they were doing, whether or not they were going to make it those number of miles. They put them in a Jeep and sent them back to somewhere and they were done. Or they had other ways of dealing with it, but it had nothing to do with perpetuating your hike, with hoping that you were going to be able to continue on the next day and the next day. And then until you're done doing what you want to do.
Which is not to say that some of the military training is useful. You can't say
mental. Oh no. All I mean is the idea that suck it up, Buttercup. You're going to do this anyway. Yeah, this is what we're telling you to do, and you're going to do it. You're hiking. You can stop whenever you want to.
MREs have no place on the trail, as far as
neither do 8-pound Alice packs, but they can work. So I think that the fear when I start telling someone that we should do a pack shakedown and go through everything, because a pack shakedown is a teachable moment for everything from food preparation to handling waste, leave no trace. I spend 2 hours doing a pack shakedown with someone, and we have touched on everything that we possibly can based on every piece of gear that we pick up and examine and look at and make decisions about together. And it's a great teachable moment for people. Unfortunately, It works often enough that I'm down here for the 9th year to do drive-by shakedowns in the woods. In the first day, I want to catch people carrying that iron skillet and the grill to put on the fire and the fire extinguisher just in case the fire gets out of hand, and the 3 weeks worth of food. And I want them that day so that we can, because 3 days later they're frustrated, they're dejected because they can't do it. I'm going home. I can't do this. And I'm like, no, you can't do it the way you thought you were going to do it, but you can do it if you're willing to make the changes mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, with your gear and with your expectations of what you can do.
How many times have you seen someone who received a Miss Janet shakedown at Springer in Baxter?
Often.
Yeah.
At least every year there's a few. There's a few every year that I feel like, they may have found that information on their own. They may have come to those realizations on their own. They may have made changes, someone else may have talked to them. So they certainly could have done it without me. But when I feel like they believe I had a small part in their success, there's nothing that makes me happier than that. But to think that the adventure of their lifetime and something that is so important to them, that something that I was able to share with them that I've gleaned from thousands of other hikers and thousands of hours and miles of talking to people about their hikes, when they say that orange soda or that one thing you said or not letting me carry that sword was exactly what I needed.
Sword.
Oh, I have a sword in my van.
How do you feel about the word angel? It gets applied to you a lot.
It does, and it's kind of, I don't actually... This is the problem with the word trail angel, with the word trail magic. They're both words like Kleenex and Xerox. They cover a lot of things. Every single copy is not made on the same kind of copying machine. So the fact that we called them all Xerox machines, they weren't all Xerox machines. And every tissue is not a Kleenex, but we still call every tissue a Kleenex. Give me a Kleenex. Well, that's not a Kleenex. That's the
Kroger brand.
Whatever. Okay, it's something else. Because unfortunately, trail magic is very individual to the person. A person who walks up on the top of a mountain right at sunset and has the most beautiful sunset of their lives alone or with 10 of their friends, and that sunset spoke to their heart, that is trail magic. The person walking down the trail that has lost their spoon and they've gone 2 days trying to eat their ramen with sticks that they carved and they don't have another spoon and no one else has another spoon to give them, but they're walking down the trail and there's a spoon hanging in a tree that Jim Tabor has carved and left for someone to find, or there's one laying beside us on a log, and you sit down and there's a spoon laying right there. It practically has your name on it because you needed a spoon, and there it is. There's not a spoon or a spoon store within 20 miles, but there's a spoon. Those are trail magic. You come to a road crossing, there's something wrong. Phone call from home, injury, illness, fear or scheduling. Maybe you have to get into the outfitters before they close or you're going to be in that town for 3 days, and you walk up to the road and you have no idea what you're going to do, and you turn around and you stick your thumb out and the very first car stops and picks you up. That can be trail magic.
On that subject, you've kind of become famous as being that person who's at that road crossing when the thumb comes out. Like, you're just already there. Well, I remember from my hike. This is what I want to ask you. It's a tough question, Miss Jen. Okay. I remember from my hike. And I'm sure people have said it in the years since. You hear the phrase an awful lot. Oh, well, Miss Janet's probably somewhere around here. Right?
I love that because it makes it. I mean, I love it in that it makes me look like I'm anywhere and everywhere. When Jeff Tozig made the Appalachian Trail passport and made stamps for people that wanted one, for people to be able to add that to their souvenir of the passport. he didn't have a chance to ask me what I wanted mine to say or look like. He just made one for me, and it was perfect. It said Miss Janet, anywhere and everywhere. It's that because at any given moment you may see me on 3 different people's pictures on Facebook, so it may look like I was here, here, and here. You don't know when those pictures were posted exactly. Then you may see me at a trailhead, and then 2 hours later see me at another trailhead. Because I think the hardest concept for most people planning to do the AT that have never done a long distance trail, and it's their first long distance hike, or even if they've done other long distance trails and they're coming to the AT, is the fact that there's a road crossing every 5 miles practically along the entire Appalachian Trail, which they did not know that, did not assume that. They assumed there would be a road to get to every 2 or 3 days because that's what they've always heard. And they're not always, and I think the idea that it's a wilderness experience interrupted by roads that take you to somewhere other than a wilderness experience is not something that a lot of people, they don't think of that as part of their planning, but it becomes part of their, so when they see me, they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I drove over here from over there. Because, I try to cover an area and do what I can in an area just organically. I don't schedule much because it doesn't work very well. But to be able to help who I can, who's in front of me and who needs me, and what fire is burning the hottest right at that moment and needs attention. And then that may put me, that you may see me 5 times today, but you may not see me again for the entire hike.
And you usually have a small crew of helpers in your orbit too, other vehicles and.
Not really, and see that always seems that way to people because there's more than me. There are other people that do this kind of crazy lifestyle for shorter periods of time. They may come out for a 2-week vacation with their RV and, assisting a club or a group, and doing things, and they may be around for a few days. And because I'm around and we're seen together, we get associated together.
They always kind of feel like you're backup, though. Like from the hiker's perspective, they're like, "Oh, I thought we were getting Miss Janet."
I'm not anywhere and everywhere. One of the things that people don't understand is I work about half the year, and that means like on any given day, I may only be working half a day, or I may not be working for half a week.
Right.
But they still think I'm there, and it's almost like a comfort thing. It becomes a comfort thing for some people.
That's kind of
is to say, well, if all else fails, we call Miss Janet.
That's it.
Well, now, what's going to actually happen when all else fails and we call Miss Janet is I'm going to tell them who to call.
Right. Okay.
I'm just a network is more than anything. But because that information, that phone number to say, well, call Gary Sizer because he lives in your area, and if he might be able to help you in this particular circumstance, then they think I'm the trail angel because I gave them you, and you helped them to do something. So they remember that I still was the one that helped them solve an issue.
How do you deal with a hiker who is becoming a little too dependent on assistance from you and others to do it?
You end up with so many personalities out here and so many different and every single person is at a vulnerable point in their lives just by being away from their comfort systems, their home, their automobiles, their routines, their schedule, their ability to pick up the phone and call someone, and 15 minutes later Uber's standing outside. You're standing outside waiting on Uber. And that instant, that just the lifestyle that everyone has lived before they come to the trail, generally it's so different that they are going through a vulnerable transition of just learning how to live in the woods. And that's just the not walking 15 miles or building up pace or anything else, but just learning, all right, what do I do now? Because it's not what I've done, what I do in the real world. I have to do, every meal you cook, every time you go to the bathroom, everything that you take, every time you get water, everything that you take for granted in the real world, and you just do it, has an impact on you in the first weeks, especially on the trail, or when you're having a bad day. It can be the worst. A pooping accident on the worst day on the trail can be the worst day on the trail, period. It doesn't matter what else is going right. That can just end it right there.
You go straight to the poop.
Right, straight to the poop. Well, I came up, Baltimore Jack and I, a number of years ago, we were in a friendly altercation of water fighting that went on for several days in Harper's Ferry. Okay. It's 100 degrees. So we had the water cannons from the hiker parade in Damascus that were still stored in the car. So a couple of people started wanting, let's fill up the water guns and water fight. These are adults, but we're all 9 years old out here. Mm-hmm. That's the average age is about 9, mentally and emotionally and entertainment wise. That's why we all talk about poop and food.
You're about 11 and a half, which is why you're in charge.
Well, we would drive up on Baltimore Jack working at an outfitter's and under some ruse, Jack, come outside. Someone needs something really bad and in a hurry. And he would come running out of the store, and 6 of us would shoot him with water guns, and he would yell at us and go back in the store. What was funny about it was that it worked every time, So the third day in a row that we had done it, he did it again, and we're like, why do you keep coming out? We're going to get you again. But he yelled at us all and said, what are you all, a bunch of 9-year-olds? And we're like, yeah, we're actually 9. That's about perfect. But 9-year-olds are needy, and you don't expect to be needy. People like the gentleman out there, they think they're exceptionally self-sufficient, and you want them to learn self-sufficiency on the trail. I want people to learn to take care of themselves in a way that they've never thought that they might have to. Most of these kids have never cooked for themselves. When I say kids, I'm going across the board. Yeah. I'm not saying teenagers versus 60-year-olds. A lot of 60-year-old men have never done their own laundry. A lot of 60-year-old men do not go shopping for themselves. Mm-hmm. So I'm not, it's all individual to every single person what their difficulties are going to be. And they'll learn, but I don't think it's hurting for me to be around to help them or to guide them and point them and mentor them in some way and point them in the right direction. So.
What are you proud of right now?
I'm proud of this family. I am proud of this Appalachian Trail family.
I know why, but tell me why.
Oh, because it's remarkable to see this thing that I have loved for 30 years still be as important to me every day. And the real estate is amazing. The trail is one of my favorite things in the world. Hiking is wonderful. But this Appalachian Trail community genuinely loves each other. They may love the trail, they may love the outdoors, they may love the activity of backpacking and hiking or trail angeling or maintaining or administrating whatever their tie and whatever their relationship with the Appalachian Trail is. They're passionate about it. And it's a very positive thing in this world to be passionate about, which is so hurtful and so sad when there are negative things that are brought to the forefront, are artificially created, or whatever the instance may be, when people disagree and it becomes as negative as maybe our political environment in this world. This isn't the place for it. We don't, we always have said, you don't talk religion, you don't talk guns, you don't talk politics around a campfire. Find something else, because how about talk about that beautiful view you saw today? How about talk about, how awesome the hike's going to be tomorrow? How about talk about yourself and your life and your interests? Because the kind of camaraderie that happens out here happens because of a shared experience. And the shared experience is not just that you're walking through the trail with a backpack on your back. The shared experience is that you walk up on that person at a moment that they're having a moment, whatever that moment is, and you're sharing it with them, and you two may be friends for the rest of your life, and that's your defining moment.
It's very intimate. For as big and vast and wide open as it is.
It's 2,189.2 miles long this year?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I think they rounded it up to 190 on all the stickers just because they wouldn't have to change it for a few years. So the trail is exceptionally long and goes through, 14 states and how many 30 different trail clubs and with different every different environment, everything you can think of, but it's still only about 18 inches wide most of the time. So eventually people are but eventually people are going to see each other, and I call it, one time I called it the Appalachian National Scenic River as far as the way people use it, because you don't just get in and go. You get in and go. You go faster. You go slower. You get out and you stay out on the bank for a while. You get back in the river. You may go faster. You may go slower. The humanity, the pilgrimage is very fluid and river-like, and not very, and not always easy to predict. What people are going to.
There's a flow to it.
There's a flow, and flow is a new word that I've been paying attention to, because I'm not very new agey, and I always thought flow sounded so new agey. But I think as much as anything, it's just that you have to accept that you're not in control of every single. You don't have to have the answer to every single decision right now. You're going to make those decisions as they come to you, and you have to be flexible enough to make them based on what is actually the best thing for you, and not what you think you should be able to do. Because, this gentleman leaving at 3:00 to hike 7.5 miles of some of the hardest trail that he will see on the AT. And people say, well, they say if you do the approach trail, you're going to have a good idea of what the rest of the AT is like. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Not even close.
So, no.
I'm going to ask you one more thing, and then we'll wrap up. You told me, I caught part of a story yesterday about some pizza in the 100-mile wilderness. And pretend I haven't heard any of that, and tell me.
Pretend you haven't heard any of that. Okay.
What was that all about? What did you guys do?
Oh, well, this has actually been going on for a number of years, but I finally got to participate, so it was pretty interesting. Trail magic. When you say trail magic, again, I think it covers anything nice that could happen to you, whether it's a rainbow or a soda, a ride to town or a free place to stay. So there's using it as an umbrella word to say anything nice that happens. If we're going to accept that that's trail magic, then that covers a lot of territory. So, but most people who plan to do something for hikers will call it trail magic. If they say, I'm going to go pick up hikers and take them into town for dinner, that's trail magic. And they're planning it and they're calling it trail magic. The person who stops beside the road has no idea what a hiker is or what you're doing, and they go, what are you doing and what do you need? I need a ride to town. Well, you're my trail magic for the day. Well, they didn't know that they were doing trail magic. They had no idea what that term means. So, but when you plan an event, because you want to do something, related to the trail, you're probably not every single person is going to plan a trail magic event in this way. They're not going to say, I'm going to get a backpack and I'm going to go hike 10 miles. I'm going to take cheeseburgers and I'm going to pass them out to people today. So, you do.
Rarely.
You do. Well, the thing is you do. And anybody may choose to do that as trail magic for that day. But then next week, they may be with their church group and doing a barbecue at a trailhead for their camaraderie. It's their get-together of the week, and they choose to do that by serving and giving to other people, whether it's in their community or at a trailhead for people that they want to spend time with and a place that they want to be. It's frowned upon a lot of times if someone thinks that in some way it's altering your wilderness experience. Shelters, privies, road crossings, all are things that alter your wilderness experience. Someone standing there offering you a soda, I don't see how that is altering your experience unless you're the person that needed that soda really bad that day. I don't think that you're going to offer someone a soda and they just lose it and quit the trail right at that moment because that was the final straw. Some hateful person offered me a soda. But because trail magic is under such scrutiny by certain special interest groups, I will say, doing something like we did in the 100-mile wilderness, is very polarizing.
Yeah.
I am very lucky that my partner is a pilot, and he hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2014 and wrote a book about his adventure, which is...
What's his book called?
35,000 Feet to the Appalachian Trail. And he's a very atypical hiker. He did it just to do it. It was a bucket list item. He never got real emotionally involved with the trail. He never got real, it wasn't
It was just a thing that he
it
did.
wasn't,
Check that box.
kumbaya around the fire and camaraderie. He was in the group of people that he just did it. He had a certain routine for how he did it. He was going to get it accomplished, and he just did it. Well, after the hike, he said, well, I'm probably never going to thru hike again, but I'm going to continue hiking, places I want to go. But there's also, because I am a pilot and I do own a plane, I'm going to do unusual things because that's what I'm going to do anyway. I am a pilot and I'm going to go do things. So he got his seaplane license in Florida and realized that that there's a great seaplane community on the lakes in northern Maine around Katahdin, and in the 100-mile wilderness there's 100 camps, and they're accessible only by seaplane, and there's a good community up there. So we got involved with some people that said that we could take the plane and go do anything we wanted. And he flew into Antlers campsite in the 100-mile wilderness on one of the commercial, it's totally legal. There's nothing illegal about flying in and landing on that lake and camping at that campsite. It is open to anyone. We just happened to bring pizza. And we had gone to great lengths to get the pizza fresh in Millinocket, get it to the airplane in a heated box, get it to the hikers that had no idea we were going to be there, surprised them, fed them, and then we left. And there was, and we took all their trash with us. So, it was, it was a 2-hour excursion that was absolutely wonderful. And
how many hikers were there?
About a dozen hikers, had showed up during the day, during the 2 hours that we were there. So, and it was pretty remarkable.
When you're in the 100-mile wilderness and hot pizza descends from the sky,
that's pretty magical.
You have to believe in angels.
No, that's pretty magical. Now, but the other thing that was interesting, because that was the first time that I had been at an Antlers campsite, and it's a very important campsite to a lot of people, and being able to visit there, and not being a hiker, and probably never going to walk into Antlers campsite on a long distance hike, I was very happy to get a chance to enjoy it. And but we're sitting around the fire, and right as we're getting ready to leave, we all kind of became aware of the same thing, that there was internet, that every single person sitting around that fire at Antlers campsite in the 100-mile wilderness had phone service.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Immediately, you've got 12 people, their faces glowing white, looking at their screens, and they're not talking to each other anymore.
Oh, that's so sad.
It was heartbreaking, because there's a knee-jerk reaction that if you fix this problem, or there's this problem, that it's going to fix everything. We bring our own problems with us, and a lot of those are, the connection that we can't seem to break from the real world, either psychologically, emotionally, or it's just a fact that you have to stay in touch, with friends or family, and you have to be accessible, and you have to, for whatever your reasons are. And it's one of the biggest reasons that I believe that the growth in numbers and the increased disparity between the people, the group of people that hike today, I believe as a group has so much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Diversity. No, there's so much more diversity than I think there was 40 years ago. I think 40 years ago there was more of a typical kind of person that hiked the trail, and took 6 months and to do that. Because what's happening now is a lot of people, like my boyfriend did the same thing. He did not stop working while he thru hiked the AT, but because he was able, through communication and staying he was able to hike, go to work, hike, go to work, hike, go to work, all along the 6 months of his hike. And no one could have accomplished that 40 years ago, because transportation and communication were not available to do that. So I think that there's a lot of people that come out that are ill that would never have risked that 40 years ago, because they couldn't get to services unless they had a phone, and it didn't exist.
Ori,
yeah. I've a gentleman I met here today that is diabetic, that has to carry insulin on his body, and has a very routine. If he gets to if he has a day and he has no medications and he gets to a road crossing, he has to be able to figure out what he needs to do. That person probably wouldn't have attempted 40 years ago, because the equipment, the medical equipment wasn't available, the technology, the communications, the transportation, and things that makes that person feel like, I can do this. And they can.
Nice.
They can. I would be doing a Leave No Trace training, and I'm not doing a Leave No Trace training. I'm talking about Leave No Trace. I'm talking about how Leave No Trace works at trailheads, and why that the trash that you see on the trail between 100 yards into a trail and 100 yards from a shelter is 99% micro trash.
Stuff people miss.
The edge of their edge of their paper, their cigarette butt, it's micro trash. So we're not talking about trash on the trail being a problem. We're talking about trash on trailheads and trash at shelters. Those are the problems. And those problems are created as much by long distance hikers as they are the other 3.5 million people that have spent some part of the time yesterday or earlier today where you're at.
But who takes the hit?
And who takes the hit? Long distance hikers are getting the entire responsibility for all the problems, for all the answers. And it's not fair. They're already doing something very hard that they don't have a lot of encouragement and support in their real world for doing it. And now we're trying to say that those 4,000 people are the ones that are causing 99% of the problems. And it's not true. It's a knee-jerk, fear-mongering reaction. And I believe that it is perpetrated by groups that have spent many, many years promoting the trail, promoting long-distance hiking, promoting being involved in any way, shape, or form, especially contributions in a monetary way. And it worked. Now you've got a huge audience in love with this thing called the Appalachian Trail, and in love with long distance hiking and with hikers. And now we're trying to say, the same organizations are trying to say, don't do it anymore.
Are we loving it to death?
No. I do not believe for one heartbeat that we're loving it to death. Because every single person that I won't say every single person in every single incident and every single day, but the people that I am blessed to be able to get to know every year, their experience on the Appalachian Trail was their experience, and it was epic. It wasn't your experience. It wasn't someone that hiked 30 years ago experience. It's not somebody that's going to hike it 30 years from now. Their experience. Because there's so many changes. It will never be, and never has been, a romantic notion of a solo walk in the wilderness. That's not the Appalachian Trail. No one has been on the Appalachian Trail by themselves very often for long periods of time. From the time Earl Schaefer, he ran into people on a regular basis. So the idea that we're trying to push people into believing that there was a time that it was like that, I just kind of, remind them that their pyramid of beer cans down beside the river back in 1989, I still have pictures of. The intended use of the Appalachian Trail is the scariest term that I've ever seen used the way they're using it. When they changed the wording almost immediately, but when they said that they were going to start going after behavior and activities that were adverse to the intended Appalachian Trail experience. And I'm like, okay, there's 100 people here today that have some experience on with, around, or involved with the Appalachian Trail because they're at the Appalachian Trail kickoff event, which means to me they're here because they're interested in some fashion with this thing we call the Appalachian Trail. Do you think any one of the people that have been here this weekend has ever had the exact same experience?
Zero.
So how can someone intend that your experience is supposed to be this? You know, especially an organization that protects the Appalachian Trail and, you know, is so important, of ultimate importance, adopting language that to try to discourage people from hiking, they're saying, well, there's only one real intended way to do it, and that's the way we tell you to, and what we tell you to do, and what we tell you is okay to do. It's a national park. It's free. It's open to the public. It's not illegal to do things other than walk on the Appalachian Trail. You can camp there. You can camp on most of the trail and wilderness areas. You can camp for 2 weeks. Just because it's not a good idea during hiking season to put up camp and stay somewhere for 2 weeks doesn't mean that it's illegal. It may not be a nice thing to do if you're looking at if you're considering, but okay, a long distance hiker walks 15 miles and gets to a shelter on the trail, and it's raining, and that was their destination, and they're planning on staying there, and they get there, and mom and dad and 3 kids are there, and it's their second night being in the shelter, and the hiker gets offended because they're in their shelter. Well, no, they're not. It's first come, first serve. Whoever, that shelter is not intended for any one particular group's sole use. It's there
for people.
It's there. It's part of the services that someone decided was, but it doesn't mean it belongs to you as a thru hiker. You as a thru hiker do not necessarily have the right of way going up a hill. If you want to go faster, you don't necessarily have the right of way. If you expect the 100 people in front of you to step aside, you're going to have a hard day, because they should step aside. It's a nice thing to step aside, but 100 people probably don't know that are in front of you walking up a mountain. So the thru hiker that thinks that their purpose on the trail is, you know, that's the entitlement that I see, is that because I'm doing something that I consider more important than what you're doing, then you should bow to my needs and what I'm doing, what I want to do. But because when we talk about ethics of backpacking, most people have never heard them. No, most people never even thought about it until they're like, oh, wait, don't burn trash in front of me. Well, that's a leave no trace thing. But it's also an ethics thing, because if you were actually doing it, but it's a getting along with people and respect thing too, because if you're sitting here by yourself and you burn 3 pieces of paper, no one's going to know. But if you throw a big plastic container in and there's 10 people around, everyone knows. So that's just a disrespect, but maybe it came from ignorance. Maybe it came from, I thought it was okay. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be gone. No, it's probably not going to be gone. If you look, it's still there. It's still melted. It's still in the ashes.
I've heard that so many times. It turns to smoke and disappears. What are you upset about? No, it doesn't.
No. And it's just, I've been on this pooty paper thing with the women for the last couple of years, because I cannot, I'm a woman. I go to the bathroom 10 times a day. I have 3 daughters. You know, we went hiking. That was 40 times a day that somebody had to stop and go pee. And that's a lot of tissue paper. It's 4 people, 4 of us. 4. So that's a lot of tissue paper.
Yeah. Where's it go?
That you have to carry out. You can't just leave 3 little pieces of toilet paper because that's all that you needed for the job you were doing. You can't just leave it there. But it's everywhere. It's everywhere, up and down the trail. And I'm blaming the women, because guys don't do that. You all go.
And shake it off. Yep. And I think something you said a few minutes ago is important to come back to, is that 9 times out of 10, it's ignorance. And that word has an unfortunate negative connotation. Right. But ignorance, I mean, it literally means hasn't been taught yet.
Right.
And people do dumb things because no one has taken the time to show them or explain, like, here's why we don't do this. It's not bad people doing bad things. It's
absolutely, because you're looking at you're looking at a group of people from a lot of different backgrounds, but 8 out of 10 of them have never hiked for a week. There may be 2 people out of 10. Maybe 20% of the people attempting a long distance hike that have ever hiked more than a week before they attempt to hike. For most people, it's their first hike. Most people are coming from cities and towns where the national park was not something as, there wasn't a park for them to go in. They never took that time in their lives for whatever reason before they made the decision to hike the AT. So they went to the town park with lots of trash cans, lots of restrooms. Most people have come to the AT, and that first night that they have to dig a cat hole, it's the first time they've ever gone to the bathroom in the outdoors. It's a big deal because it's that vulnerable. It's that.
I'm going to put that off until the last possible minute.
Well, but see, I tell people, I said, yeah, and then you're in trouble because now you don't know what you're doing. How do you do it? What do you hold on to? How do you stand? How do you sit? Whoa, and now you're in a hurry. So how do you do this?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh, come on in. We're just hanging out.
But is there another one coming on? Is there what's next?
Oh, nothing. I just haven't been back to the table in a while.
Okay.
Things are getting pretty slow. Katie's probably missing me. I told her we were going to be 15 minutes. We talked for an hour.
I tell you what, though, this lady.
And I still have more questions. Beautiful.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
I'll have Miss Jane. I have like 10 hours worth of questions.
Well, we can do this again.
I think we should.
So
talk about some controversy.
Well, that's fine. Did you talk to the gentleman that was?
Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. Your hosts are me, Gary Sizer, Green Giant, and Megan Thompson, Voldemort. Our music is by Lee Rosevere. Don't forget to leave us a review wherever you go to download the show. If you want to get in touch with us, we have a Facebook group called Stories from the Trail. I'm on Facebook and Twitter as Gary Sizer. You can leave us a message on any of our posts on The Trek. This episode was recorded partially on location at Immokalee Falls State Park and recorded and mixed in Blanket Fort Studios by me, Gary Sizer. Blanket Fort Studios is just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening.
That's beautiful, Miss Janet.
I love you.
I love you too. You're awesome.
So,
I think we got plenty of good stuff.
Yeah, I love seeing what people do with this stuff because I'm like, I don't know what we said. I don't know what we said. I just like talking.